Hey team, Coach Malik here. And in this training, we're going to be walking you through the Setter Processes Foundation. And we're really going to help you guys understand what is a setter, what is the difference between inbound appointment setting and outbound appointment setting. We're really going to help you understand the best practices of sales and really what goes into it in order for you to be successful at setting appointments. So without further ado, let's jump in and kick some butt. So the first thing we're going to go over is what is an appointment setter. So like I said earlier, right, the goal of this module is to give you a brief overview of the best practices of the setter process. Before we can do that, we want to make sure that you can understand the smaller moving parts inside of the entire process. And so we're going to start with defining terms, right? Because we want to make sure that we are on the same page and we can understand what an appointment setter actually is. So an appointment setter is someone who sets qualified appointments for closers. So closers are the salespeople, right? And the appointment setter is somebody who actually sets appointments for the closers to actually close them. Now, in other terminologies, appointment setters are also referred to as sales reps, inside sales reps. They're also referred to as SDRs, which are sales development reps, or appointment generators. Those are the many other names for appointment setters. Now, for our purposes, we're going to be calling appointment setters setters. Okay. Now, some of you might be asking, aren't both appointment setters and closers both sales rep? That is true. Yes, but each of them has their own different function and responsibility. The closer is responsible for closing the deal, which is pushing the prospect across the finish line. The appointment setter's job is to qualify them to make sure that the closer is talking to the right people. Now, for you as an entrepreneur, you're actually going to be both a closer and a setter, which is really, really, really awesome. And it'll help you define and develop both skills. Now, with that being said, the number one goal of the appointment setter is to take all the leads that are coming into the business and turn them into qualified appointments. So they're kind of like the gatekeeper of the business. So what will happen in a business is that a lead will come in and the appointment setter's job is to get them on the phone and to get them to qualify that lead, which means making sure that that lead actually meets the criteria of the business and that lead is actually a good fit. So let's actually walk you through kind of what that process would look like, right? So the lead would actually come in from a paid advertisement or content marketing. So think of the appointment setter as kind of like a traffic director or a conductor, right? And from there, what they're going to do is ensure that the lead is qualified or disqualified. If it's disqualified, they're not going to move further. If they are qualified, then they're going to go ahead and schedule a strategy session with the closer. And then the closer or a business development rep or an account manager, they're going to come in and they're going to push the deal across the finish line. So that's the dynamic of appointment setting and kind of how that process works. Now, how does this actually apply to you as an entrepreneur, right? You want to understand that. So you have to understand the role of the appointment setter first to actually understand the setter process, because the setter processes are all the systems, the responsibilities, the tools, and the actions and everything that you need to do to set qualified appointments for yourself inside of your business. Okay. Now, in your business, you're going to be the appointment setter and the closer, just like I said earlier. Now, we have an entire module that's dedicated to sales processes, but to understand the sales processes, the first half of the sales equation is the setter processes, because the setter processes is what allows you to actually have the sales processes, because if you cannot set qualified appointments, then you have nobody to sell. So it's going to be very, very, very crucial to master both of these elements, and that's what's going to allow you to grow within your journey as you're setting stuff up. So now with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the entire training section on what is an appointment setter. If you have any questions about the section or anything that we discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next training. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training, we're going to walk you through the difference between inbound versus outbound settings. So let's just jump right into the nitty gritty and help you guys understand this process from a better overview. Now, when it comes to appointment settings, there are going to be two types of appointment setting. There's inbound appointment setting, and then there's outbound appointment setting. Now, this also means that there are two classifications of appointment setters. All right. Because there's inbound appointment setting, we have inbound appointment setters. And because there's outbound appointment settings, we have outbound appointment setters. Now, some organizations will actually separate the roles. So there's different roles and responsibilities and a different entire team for inbound appointment setting. And then there's another entire team for outbound appointment setting. But a lot of organizations will have one person actually do both. Now, what we have found in our experience is that having an inbound and outbound team be actually separate works really well long term. Now, why does this actually matter? So one thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we set our expectations straight. Okay. And this is going to be one of the greatest skills that you ever learn, hands down, guaranteed. Because as long as you can learn how to generate leads using Facebook ads, and if you're diligent and you do the work, right, you're going to be able to make sales consistently. Because if you can take people that are coming from Facebook ads and you can qualify them using the set of processes, and then you can sell them using your sales processes, then there should be no reason why you cannot make money in the online space, right? Now, many new entrepreneurs get confused because they think that just because they're generating leads that they're good. That's actually like 1/3 of the puzzle, right? Because you can get a lead to come in, you still have to set them as a setter, right? Setter processes, and then you have the sale processes. And the sales processes is what allows you to actually collect the cash, because acquiring customers happens in 3 segments, right? Number 1, you need a consistent lead flow. Number 2, you have a system to qualify those leads. Then you got to turn those leads into paying customers. And that's why the setter processes matter so much. And just learning this single skill, it places you 10 times ahead of newbie entrepreneurs who are waiting to be spoon-fed, right? They're waiting to have customers handed to them. Right? What we want to do is we want to empower you to become a sales savant. We want somebody who can take charge and go after it. There's no wishing or praying in the sales world, just action or inaction. So the next thing we want to dive into is we want to dive into the difference in roles and responsibility between a inbound versus outbound appointment setter and what that actually looks like. Okay. So let's first talk about the inbound appointment setter. Now, the inbound appointment setter handles all inbound leads. Okay. So all inbound leads, that means that if you have a business, all the leads that are coming into the business is what the inbound appointment setter handles. Now, inbound leads are sales leads that contact you first. Okay. This is the primary difference between inbound and outbound. Inbound is everybody that's contacting you first, or they're passively pursuing. Now, just to clarify, this can be anybody coming from a website. They're clicking on your Facebook and Instagram ad. They're sending you a DM. There's many ways to generate inbound leads, but just think of it this way. They're actually coming to the business. Okay. All inbound appointment setters have to do is they just have to qualify the lead and then book them into an appointment with a closer. We talked about this, right? So what that actually looks like is the appointment setter is actually fielding all the inbound leads, they're qualifying them, and they're booking them onto an appointment. So the reason we have this is we call inbound leads traffic, right? Anytime there's traffic to a website or traffic to your ad or any type of traffic, that just means there's a lot of people, a lot of eyeballs on there. And that can happen from automated social media or content marketing, right? Then the inbound appointment setter actually fields those appointments, right? Qualifies those people. And 2 things happen. They either qualified or they're disqualified. And then they actually end up going into a strategy session if they are qualified. So what the inbound appointment setter actually does, it takes the traffic that's coming towards the business and regulates that to make sure that they can redirect that traffic to where it actually needs to go. So now moving along, we're going to be talking about what an outbound appointment setter actually does and what is the key primary difference. Now, the outbound appointment setter, that's a completely whole different ballgame and a whole different skill set. It is a little bit more difficult because it does require grit, tenacity, and you really have to build the mental fortitude with outbound appointment setting because these people are like headhunters, right? They go out to find people. They get those people interested in the product or service. And in many cases, they try to qualify them as well. So if you've ever purchased, like the prime example is like a roofing company or even solar, many companies will have outbound appointment setters. So what they do is they'll go and knock on doors, generate interest. They'll book appointments for the sales rep or a closer, and a closer will come back to those doors and close the deal, right? Now, early in my sales career, I started doing outbound and inbound at the same time. So during the day, for 2 hours, we would spend prospecting, meaning we would go into shopping malls, nail salons, schools, all over the neighborhood and collect names and numbers. Then we would come back to the office and call those numbers and actually book appointments. Now, one of the great things about now is like we live in a digital age, right? So there's no old school writing down numbers and calling people and going through that process. And so there's multiple ways to generate inquiries online, right? And so the ways that you can generate inquiries online is via email, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, cold calling. I already said LinkedIn. There's voicemail, there's text messages, and many, many, many more, right? And so just to show you a visual example of what an outbound setter actually does is that they're generating traffic, right? So what they're doing is they're going out and they're headhunting. It's a lot of in the trenches, and type of content marketing could also be considered as outbound a little bit. But what they're doing is, notice this individual is just pulling leads towards them. They're pulling prospects towards them. And as they pull prospects towards them, a tiny percent of these people will actually be able to then be interested. So once they generate the interest, then they have to qualify them, and then they have to schedule them with a strategy session. So outbound is a little bit more work than inbound, but it is a process that also exists inside of the appointment setting world. Okay. Now, moving along here, we want to make sure that you understand that this module is going to allow you to develop the skill of inbound appointment setting. But the reason we are sharing this with you is because we want you to have a holistic picture of what the entire acquisition system looks like, right? Our whole goal is to train you on principles, on first principles, so you understand everything as a holistic perspective rather than just seeing like, hey, I'm going to actually put this square peg into a round hole. That's not going to happen, right? You want to understand the principles so you see entrepreneurship as a holistic view. And that's one of the mistakes that we made early on in our career, is that we would get married to a type of way of doing things, right? And so like we said here, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And so we were just like sales, 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 outbound, inbound, outbound, inbound. We were married to this process, but really ultimately both of these are just tools, right? And so you just have to pick the right tool for your tool belt at the stage that you are in with business. And so one way is not better than the other, right? Both strategies work. It's just what strategy will work for you at the stage of business that you're in. Just like the funnel training, it's about picking the right tool inside of your tool belt. And without picking the right tool, you won't know what you're getting yourself into, and you won't know if you're actually getting the results that you're looking for. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the inbound versus outbound setting training. If you have any questions about this section or anything that we've discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next training. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training, we're going to be talking about why the setter processes are so important. So you're going to really learn the true reason why we actually use the setter processes and why it's so important in your business. It's actually going to turn into the single greatest asset that you have inside of your business. So I don't want to hold too much of the suspense. Now let's actually dive into this and learn a little bit more about this. So now that you understand there's different type of appointment setting, let's actually talk about why having a setter system is actually crucial for your business. And the two words that come to mind are lead utilization. So what does that mean? Lead utilization is a business's ability to optimize the leads that they're generating from their marketing efforts, right? So you as an entrepreneur, you have a couple hats that you're going to wear inside of your business. So you have the marketing hat, then the marketing hat, you're going to wear the sales hat, then you're going to wear the coach hat, right? So you have multiple hats that you're going to wear. So in your marketing hat, this is where you created your free guide. This is where you worked on your unique mechanism. This is where you worked on your frameworks. This is where you worked on your ad. And that is the marketing side of you. Now, then you're going to actually put on your sales hat, and then you're actually going to be able to do the setter and sales processes. Now, you have to make sure that when you put on your sales hat, that you are actually able to utilize all of the efforts that marketing is actually doing for you. Okay. And so here's what we mean. When we actually were doing health coaching and we were working with personal trainers and help using the community strategy every single day, we would get about 50 to 60 leads, but only 20 to 25 of them would actually join. So what would end up happening is that we would actually lose 55% of people because we did not have a way to contact them. That's simply the reason why. So we were just losing out on a lot of opportunity. So what would happen is we would spend about $5,000 a month on advertisement and we make about $20,000. Now, when we developed the community setter processes, that actually gave us the ability to tap into the 55% that I was actually slipping through the cracks. Now, with the same amount of ad spend, spending $5,000 a month on ads, now we were able to generate $40,000 a month. So before lead utilization, we would end up getting 4 clients out of 100 leads, right? With lead utilization, we were able to get 100 leads, 8 clients, and that would turned out for us to be $40,000. So we doubled our business simply because instead of having these 55 leads lost, we were able to have a set of processes in place and crank out 4 extra units, right? And so literally the same amount of money that we were spending, but we were double as profitable, which is absolutely incredible. Now, that is why lead utilization is so important. Right? Do you see why it's so important? Because you don't want to be leaving money out on the table, right? Now, there's another side to why having a set of processes is so important, and it's really just an insurance policy, right? And what do we mean by that? And it's an insurance policy against rising cost of marketing. Because when you're actually marketing to cold traffic, this means you're actually marketing to people that don't know you, they don't like, know, and trust you. These just randos on the internet, right? What you're going to find is that your cost of marketing is actually going to continue to go up. And the reason for that is just more and more people come into the marketplace and they're able to spend more and more and more money. And so for your ability to show your ad to more people, you're just going to have to spend more money, right? And so how do you actually protect yourself against rising ad costs, right? And the best way to actually do that is going to be through a setter system, because now with the same amount of marketing spend, you're able to double what you were doing, and that allows you to actually spend more on advertisement, right? So you see, this is how you're going to be able to create a business that outlasts and stands a test of time, because that is the game of business, the person that can survive the most. And so having a set of processes just allows you to squeeze more out of the lemon than your competition, and that is what makes you more efficient, and that is what makes you more profitable. So now that you understand why the set of processes is so important, let's actually talk about how the set of processes actually work. Okay. So if you remember all the different acquisition strategies that we laid out for you guys, right? The setter system and the process actually comes in handy at any given time that somebody has opted in and given their information. So whether you're running the community strategy, whether you're running VSL, whether you're running VSL with setters versus you're actually break-even front-end strategy where you're running an LBO or anything of that sort, it does not matter. As long as you're collecting somebody's name and information, you're going to be able to really ramp up and have a set of processes in place and actually be able to connect with those people and really tap into, again, lead utilization. So instead of wasting and creating a lot of waste, you're actually going to be able to tap into the leads that you have. So let's actually explore what that would actually look like in the community strategy. Okay, so when a lead comes in, right? So the lead is going to come in from content marketing or social media ads. They're going to actually opt into your landing pages. So we're going to collect their information. As soon as we collect their information, hey, for 7 to 10 days, they're going to start getting automated text messages. So that's just one part of the setter processes, right? Then as soon as somebody opts in, you're going to actually call them within the first 5 minutes, and that's going to be speed to lead. They don't pick up, you're actually going to double dial them, right? So either they don't pick up, hang up the phone, you double dial them again, so you're actually be able to reach them. Then once they respond, you're going to schedule a call, right? They pick up, they're like, hey, I'm really busy. All good. Let me go ahead and schedule a call with you, right? Then afterwards, you speak with them, you schedule a quick chat. All right. Now, before the quick chat, what we want to do is we want to actually send them some value, right? So you're going to send them some value and what that process looks like. We're going to walk you through this. Don't worry. This is going to be part of the community setter processes, right? And then you're going to send reminders 48, 24, 2 hours before, and then manual and message the night before to let them know that you're excited for the call. So that's the setter processes. And that's kind of how it works. But that's going to be in case what happens in the front end, there's all other moving parts that happen as well. And so really just, I want to help you understand, this was just for the community strategy. It can apply for anything. So as soon as somebody opts into a landing page for any type of marketing strategy, you're going to be able to deploy the appointment setters and call them immediately, set up appointments, qualify them, and make sure that they are ready to go. And we're going to talk about this in the best practice of sales section. So we're going to get speed to lead and how to call them immediately. But really, the next thing we want to help you understand are the different opportunity streams from which that you can generate appointments from. All right, so let's break that down step by step. So the first opportunity streams are going to be phone numbers from opt-ins. Now, this can be phone numbers from webinar. It could be from VSL. It could be from free guide. It could literally be from anything that you're giving away a free resource in exchange for information, right? Now, this can include also paid resources. So if you're selling something for like 7, 10, 15 bucks, you can also do that as well. But that's the first area of opportunity that's going to allow you to get names and numbers that you can actually have appointments set up and you can qualify them. It's going to be through phone numbers from opt-ins. Now, the second one is going to happen from inside of your community. And this is what we're going to be focusing on in the next training section. And it's going to be all about scheduling calls with people who are inside of your community. So you're going to give them curated content, they're going to engage, and you're going to be able to schedule appointments from there. Now, don't worry. Again, we're going to show you all the tactical inside of things. You're going to be making hand raiser posts, which is going to allow you to schedule calls with people. And that's kind of what it's going to look like, where people are commenting, you're engaging, you're sending them a message via Messenger, and you're getting them scheduled in. All right. So moving along here, number 3 is we're going to call people who have filled out applications but didn't schedule. All right. So when you're running the VSL, you've got an application there. And really the next step is someone fills out an application. They just don't do anything with it. They don't book a call, or they just fill out the application halfway. Hey, there's a quality of person right there who was interested. They just didn't have the chance. So now you can actually set an appointment and qualify them as well. So that's another opportunity. Another great opportunity can be calling no-shows, right? And this can apply both to the community strategy and the VSL, right? Let's say somebody books an appointment with you. They don't show up because they had an emergency or something happened. Now, if they blatantly don't show up, we usually don't reach out to them, but this is last resort. But if you have somebody who's a good fit and you want to be able to reach out to them to schedule another appointment, hey, that's a great way to actually do it. Tap into them, qualify them, and make sure that we are, again, utilizing all of the leads that are coming in from our marketing efforts. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the entire training section on why the setter processes are so important and how do the setter processes work. So if you have any questions about these 2 sections or anything that we discussed, make sure you go ahead and ask us inside of the student community. And with that being said, we're going to sign off and we'll catch you guys in the next training. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training, we're going to be talking about the focus as a setter. What should you be focusing on? How are you going to be creating opportunities? How are you going to be scheduling qualified appointments? So let's jump in and kind of explain what that process looks like. So as a setter, right, we're going to go back to what we talked about at the beginning. The main focus is to schedule qualified appointments. Now, we've actually broken it down to 4 types of activities that you should be focusing on as an appointment setter to book qualified appointments, right? And so the 4 types of activities are triage calls and quick chats, right? And these are labeled from the things that are going to get the most efficiency and benefit out of it versus the least, okay? Now, I'm not saying that follow-ups and pipeline are not as important as messenger conversations. All of these are important, but the ones that are going to get you the most yield and return of your time is broken down from the top to bottom. Okay, so we're going to be talking about triage, we're going to talk about outbound, we're going to talk about messenger, we're going to talk about follow-up. So let's break each of these down into its own detail. So the first one we're going to go over is triage calls and quick chats. Now, out of all the activities that you do as a setter, by far this is going to be the most important one. And the reason for that, because the ultimate goal is all other activities are going to lead to triage calls. So everything that you're going to do is going to lead to a triage call. So if you do outbound calls, the goal is to do a triage or a quick chat, right? If you do messenger conversations, that leads to a quick chat. If you're doing follow-ups or your pipeline, that leads to a quick chat. So at the end of the day, everything is going to come back to you doing quick chats. Now, you'll hear us use 2 terms. We'll use triage calls or quick chat, right? They're the exact same thing. Now, what are these? These are calls that you schedule with prospects or leads. It's kind of also called a discovery call, where you're actually discovering to see if the person is a good fit, and you're able to actually make sure that they're qualified for the strategy session. So really, ultimately, you're building a relationship and financially qualifying them. Now, these calls usually last about 15 to 30 minutes. Now, as an entrepreneur who's setting the appointments for your business, your success will be a direct reflection of how many triages and quick chats you can do. Because the more triages and quick chats you can do on a daily basis, the more chances of you having qualified prospects, and the more qualified prospects that you have, the more sales that you can actually do. So that was the first activity. Now, moving along to activity number 2 is going to be outbound calls. Now, outbound calls happen when a lead or someone gives you their name, phone number, and email, and within 5 minutes, you call them to qualify them. 5 minutes, or that's the goal, right? And this is what we call speed to lead. And we're going to talk more about that in the setter best practices section. But during the outbound call, if the person picks up the phone, you do 2 things, right? Number 1, right, you can go ahead and actually call them back later. So if they're really busy, in that case, you just go ahead and schedule a time and call back later. Or number 2, you go ahead and just do the quick chat on the spot. Now, once you get good at tonality, once you get good at sales, once you get good at speaking, no matter who they are, you're actually going to be able to turn that outbound into a triage. And it makes it very, very, very easy to do. And we'll kind of walk you through that process in the outbound training as well. Okay. Now, moving on to activity number 3, this is going to be messenger conversations. All right. So messenger conversations are exactly how it sounds. These are going to be conversations that you're having via messenger with folks inside of your community. Right. And these are people that have actually joined your community. They've commented on a hand raiser post, and they've commented on your live trainings. Now, the goal of the messenger convo or messenger conversation is to get them scheduled on a quick chat with you. Like I said, all roads lead to quick chats. Now, don't worry. In typical RWA fashion, we're going to give you the exact scripts that you need to schedule people from your community and how to get them onto a call. All right. Now, moving along to the last and final activity is follow-ups. Okay. Now, this is the most overlooked and underrated opportunity in my personal opinion. And unfortunately, this is one of my greatest achievements, because I believe that all sales are actually made in the follow-up. And I'll kind of break that process and what that actually looks like, because following up actually requires a level of patience and consistency that most people don't have. And it's important because we have an entire section on this module specifically about follow-ups and how important that is. Now, it can be done via messenger. It can be done via text, email, call. It doesn't matter. You can meet the person for coffee. Like, it doesn't matter. What you're doing is you're actually following up with people that are actually qualified, meaning they were good fits, but they were just not ready to schedule a call. They were not ready to buy. And in my opinion, this activity is the easiest to do. Like, you can just over time, as you're doing this, it might take you 3 or 4 months. You have a list of prospects that you've actually spoken with, and you're just going to follow up with them consistently, sharing massive amounts of value until they're ready to buy, because eventually they're going to buy. Right? We just have to make sure we are ready in front of them when they're ready to buy. And we have an entire section, don't worry, dedicated to follow-up. So we're going to teach you exactly what that process looks like. But just having a system in place is honestly a superpower, because over time it compounds, because you only have a limited amount of time in the day. And so with that being said, follow-ups are just a compounding asset. So if you are limited to 8 hours a day of sales, then you can actually, let's say, make more sales in a day, because you have your follow-ups that you're counting on and you're banking on, because they're coming in from the seeds that you have planted a long time ago. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap up this training where we talk about the focus as a setter. So there are 4 main activities that a setter is going to be focused on. All right. And the 4 activities are triage calls and quick chats. Right? Those are going to be the most bang for our bucks. Number 2 is going to be focusing on outbound calls. Number 3, it's going to be messenger conversations. And number 4 is going to be follow-ups. Now, those are going to be money. Those are going to be the things that we mainly focus on. Those are going to be the buckets that appointment setters are going to live, and you as an entrepreneur are going to master. So if you have any questions about the section or anything that we discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community. And with that being said, we'll catch you guys in the next training. All right, team, mi amigos and mi amigas, welcome. And in this training, we're going to be talking about the on-call versus off-call activities. What the heck is on-call? What the heck is off-call activities? We're going to reveal the curtains and we're going to explain exactly what this is. Don't you worry, buckle up, and we're going to have a fun ride. So let's jump into this, right? Now that you understand that there's four top activities for appointment setters, let's zoom out and help you understand where do these activities actually fit in. Okay, now you understand the nitty gritty of the four types of activities that a setter should be doing. Now, where do those actually come into play? Okay, because only two things matter as an entrepreneur doing sales and as an appointment setter. You're either doing quick chats or you're scheduling quick chats. That's it, because quick chats are going to be the activity that matter the most. Okay. Now, once you have paid ads up and running, then the only thing that you should be focused on, once you have your guide ready, once you have your marketing swipe file, once you have your ad copy, once you have your ad creative, you have your ad set up, you have your pixel ready to rock and roll, the next thing is majority of your time is going to be spent doing this, which is going to be scheduling quick chats and doing quick chats. And then later down the line, doing strategy sessions within this process, because that is going to get you the most return for your time. Right? And the two things that are going to get you the most return for your time is going to be setting appointments and making sales. That's it. Now, I know some people take this very lightly, but other than sales, there's no other task that's going to give you the highest return on your time, right? Because what you're doing is you're able to capitalize on that. And in that hour, you're able to get somebody to pay you. And that's going to be the highest return that you're going to be getting. So with that being said, let's kind of explore on-call activities and what that actually looks like, which is doing quick chats. Okay. So just a reminder, like I said, this is going to be the most profitable activity that you actually do. And why is that? Because you're actually having consults with qualified prospects and you're going to turn them into customers. So what you're doing is you're taking them from the appointment setter side of things, right? You're qualifying them, you're setting them with a QC. And if they're qualified, you actually take them into the strategy session. So the more of QCs that you do, the more strategy sessions you will have, right? So as a business owner, some of you working full time, you're going to have a finite amount of time. And this is why the motto that sticks out to me is if it doesn't make you money, you should not be focusing on it, because you want to get the highest return for your time. Because if you have 4 hours in a day, you want to make sure that you capitalize on those 4 hours. Right? Now, one of the activities, which is doing consults, is an on-call activity, meaning you're on a call or you're on the phone as you do it. Now, just because doing quick chats or being on-call activities doesn't mean that you should neglect the other activities that exist. Now, the other activities just drive more on-call activities. So you have to do the inputs that lead to the output, which is quick chats. So you actually doing these setter processes inside of the community will lead to more quick chats. So that doesn't negate anything, but your main focus, or 70% of the week, should be spent qualifying leads. And it should be either on doing quick chats or this next strategy, which is off-call activities. You're going to be scheduling quick chats. Now, this is going to be the second highest leverage activity after doing quick chats, is actually scheduling them. So how do you actually generate qualified consults? Now, this is a very generic list, right? And this consists of both inbound, okay, and it consists of outbound. So it consists of both. So how you generate qualified consults is going to be through outbound calls, messenger conversations, follow-ups inside of your community, emails, text message, voice drops, Facebook DMs, Instagram DMs, reach out on LinkedIn, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, these are general activities that both outbound and inbound setters can do to book quick chats. Now, will you be doing all of these? I want to help you understand this. No, you're going to be very specific and do a very specific type of acquisition strategy, so that way you can hone in on the skill. So the question now becomes, can you spend your off-call time as profitably as possible, right? How do you actually make your off-call time when you're not doing quick chats? How do you actually make that more profitable? So in order to do that, you need two things. Number one, you need to identify all the activities that you should be doing to generate more consults. That is the first goal. Then you're going to rank them in order of effectiveness. Okay. And what this will allow you to do is when you're not on quick chats, okay, when you're not doing a quick chat, what are other activities that you're going to engage in that is going to lead to quick chats. So when I was running the community strategy, here's how I structured my activities. So obviously at the top, I have triages and consults, which is quick chat. So let's cross that off. Now, what am I going to be doing to actually get more people into quick chat? So I would tap into my TCK inbox. I would clear out my messenger. I would message new members. I would respond to, right here, it's supposed to say hand raisers, right? So more hand raiser posts rather than fundraisers. We would do outbound, and we would outbound new leads. We would follow up with old QCs and leads. So everything that I was doing was all around funneling more people into the quick chat. And the only objective that I had was either to do quick chats or do activities that allowed me to generate more quick chats, okay? It's not fancy, it's just the work that is actually required. Because once you have ads up and running, the clock is ticking. I just wanna let you know, every single day you're spending money. And every single day you're not making money is money going out of your pocket. So as a business owner, the skills to be able to generate calls is so crucial, and you need a consistent system to actually do that. And what learning the setter system allows you to do is actually makes you a well-rounded salesperson. You're very nimble, you're agile, you know how to actually think on your feet, you know the processes that you need, and you have better lead utilization. Now, the reason why all of this is important, because number one, we all lack control of the market. We don't know what's going to happen. Facebook controls, Instagram controls their audience. We don't know what's going to happen. Ad costs are going to go up. And so we need to make sure we have an insurance policy so we can utilize the leads that we're being given, right? Number two, you're limited on how many calls that you can take. So we all have a finite amount of time in a day, right? And pipeline and follow-up actually allows you to hit those numbers that you wouldn't be able to hit without inbound. So with that being said, both on-call activities and off-call activities are equally as important. Now, don't worry. We're going to walk you through how to do follow-ups, what that process actually looks like, what activities you should be focused on immediately so you can actually get the best result and the best outcome out of your efforts. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that was the on-call versus off-call activities. If you have any questions about the section or anything that we discussed, make sure you go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section. All right, team, welcome back. And in this training section, we're going to be talking about how to just get better as a setter, right? Now, you understand what an inbound setter is, what an outbound setter is, what an inbound setter does, what an outbound setter does, what are on-call activities, off-call activities. Now you're probably asking, Coach Malik, how do I get better at all this stuff? So let's actually peel back the curtains that we always do and actually just get right into it. Because you might be asking, how do you do all of this, right? How do you balance all of these different activities, and how do you fit all of this in? So let me be the first one to set the expectations straight, right? At the beginning, I just want to let you know it's going to feel like a lot, and that's absolutely okay. It is the prerequisite, okay? It's the prerequisite of you getting good. So we get paid for the proportion of the skill that we have, not only the value that we provide, but all of the skill that we have. And I guarantee you that this skill will feed you and your family forever. Now, it's okay to get overwhelmed. It's not okay to quit. Okay, repeat that after me. It's okay to get overwhelmed. It's not okay to quit, because winners do not quit. Now, when you're going through this process, you're going to think, gosh, this is hard. This is not what I thought business was going to be. Now, I want to remind you that, and I just want to give you the permission that, hey, this is what hard feels like. Working your leads, being consistent, doing the ugly work, the work that nobody wants to do. This is what hard feels like. This is why everyone quits, and this is why you will win, because you don't quit. Right? Now, the question comes up is, how do you actually improve the outcomes? We have found ways to do this by first having a formula around this, which is going to be first increasing the volume, and then you increase your efficiency. I want to break that down for you to show you what that actually looks like. So what most people do at the beginning, they try to be more efficient, right? Now, the problem with being more efficient, that it can only happen first by doing the volume, right? Maxing yourself out and figuring out what gets the best results. Because if you don't do the volume, you will never know. Right? Now, when anyone starts setting their own appointments, our first goal is to teach them how to be productive. That is it, right? You just want to learn how to do stuff in a very time-oriented manner, because it's stressful at the beginning. And I'll be the first one to tell you that. It seems like it's a lot of moving parts, but once you get the hang of it and it becomes productive, it becomes easier. And so at the beginning, we have the saying in sales is what you lack in skill, you make up in volume, right? And that's why skill equals reps times knowledge. And this is a prime example of that. And you get better by doing more. At the beginning, it's going to be unconscious incompetence because you don't know. Then when you know what it is that you're doing, it's going to be a deep point where you're like, everything's going to burn down. I don't want to do this. I'm not good at this. And then eventually you're going to really get the hang of it by doing the reps and having the volume. Then it's just going to be easy peasy where it's going to be like the back of your hand. And at first, it's just going to feel crazy all over the place. And that's all right. Okay. At the beginning, you're going to be doing everything at once. So do all of the activities that you need to do to generate quick chats, right? Do your consult, clear out your TCK inbox, clear out your messenger, message new people, reply to your 2-steps, which are your hand raisers, do your outbound, do your follow-ups, do everything. Now, the problem with volume is that once you've developed a skill, you're just going to run out of time. Right? Because there's only so much finite time in a day. Now, once we run out of time, that's when we ask ourselves, now we've done everything. We've done so much volume. How do we actually optimize our productivity? Okay, how do we actually optimize that? Now, the biggest trick to optimizing is doing the steps above first. So you have to first do all of the steps, all of the activities, which is going to be the off-call and on-call activities, to help you determine what you should prioritize, especially the off-call activities, because the on-call activities are something that's always going to be going on, right? Now, once you know what to prioritize, then you can focus on the next stage of this, which is efficiency. So let's talk a little bit about efficiency. So once you've mastered the volume, right, and the productivity, now it's time to master efficiency. And the way you master efficiency is by increasing your skill set. Because if you're doing all of the activities, but you're not getting the most out of them, what's the point? And the only way to get more output from your activities when your volume is maxed out is to increase your skill set and to become more efficient. It's honestly just to become better. Right? Because what you are doing is not good enough and you have to become better. And this is where you go from doing 10 quick chats and getting 2 strategy sessions to 10 quick chats and getting 5 strategy sessions. Very similar to lead utilization, but now it's kind of efficiency and increasing your skill set and your repertoire and your ability to do more, right? So same amount of work, the outcome is just more fruitful. And this is the part that most newbies want to skip. They just want to get to the finish line. But this is the part that cannot be skipped. You have to pay your dues. Your dues have to be paid. There's just no other way around it. You have to be in the trenches to learn the process, to then become efficient, so that way you can level up your skill. Now, doing the volume is the price that you have to pay for the skill. And once you have the skill, you can improve it and actually hone it down. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you guys a ton of clarity. Now, if you guys have any questions about this section or anything that we discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community. That was the getting better as a setter. Really hone this down. Make sure that you hone down your volume first, do the reps. And then after that, we're going to go for efficiency, where we're going to increase the skill set. So you're actually better. You're actually more efficient. You're squeezing more juice out of the lemon. So with that being said, we're going to wrap up the training here and we'll catch you guys in the next training. All right, team, welcome back. And in this section, we're going to be talking about the best practices in sales. Now, you're going, Coach Malik, you were going real conceptual on us. You're really just making sure that you're dropping some knowledge bombs. You're doing some mic drops. What's going on over here? All right. And so the reason we're doing this, guys, is we want to make sure that you understand the fundamentals. You understand the mindset going into this, what it actually requires, so you're prepared. You can actually prepare your becoming journal. You can get into the right seat and you can buckle down and you can tell yourself that this is the work that is required. I am the type of person that is going to get this work done because I am the only one that can actually get this done. So in this section, we're going to be walking through the best practices in sales. And these are the best practices that we have found that's going to lead you to be successful and be the most efficient at what you do. So without further ado, let's just jump right on in. So we're going to go over the most important practices that get overlooked when it comes to sales. Now, they're very simple, and these are just tools inside of your tool belt, right? Because as Jim Rohn said it best, success is just doing ordinary things extraordinary well. It's doing the boring work that no one likes to do, because no one likes to do boring work, right? And to be successful at the game, I just want to let you know, to be successful at the appointment setting game or the sales game, it just requires consistency, right? It's doing the boring work without giving up. So let's go over some ordinary things that you can do that's going to lead to extraordinary results. They're not hard, they just require efficiency. So best practice number 1 is going to be my favorite, speed to lead. Okay, what is it? Speed to lead. So what is speed to lead? Now remember, back in the previous training, speed to lead is the closer the time to their opt-in. So somebody comes in from your marketing efforts, right? They come in, they hit your landing page, they give you their information, and within 5 minutes, you're able to call them, engage them, text them. And so the speed at which you engage the person of when they opt in, that is the likelihood of them actually engaging with you. So this really means how fast can you text, email, or engage with the person that just gave you their information. The ideal time is you want to do it within 5 minutes. So they give you their information on the landing page and immediately the clock is ticking, right? Regardless of whether you do it or not, right? Regardless of whether they continue down the funnel or not, right? We have to make sure that we're able to actually tap into the leads that we're actually getting. So if somebody sees your ad, they go to your landing page and now they're going to the thank you page and going into your Facebook group. Now this is where we come in. We want to make sure that we have the speed to lead to make sure that we can actually tap into that lead. Now, why does speed to lead actually matter? Okay. Now when somebody opts in, right, which means that they give us their name, email, and phone number, right? Most people's attention span are extremely small when they opt into something, okay? Most people's attention span is literally 2 seconds. And after that, they're just going to forget. Because think about it. Most people are opting in when they're on their toilets, right? They're in between meetings, they're at a red light, they're driving. They could remember half of what they actually opted in for because they just came across an ad and they filled out their information. So the chances of them remembering what they actually opted in for is extremely small. So when it comes to cold traffic, right, when you're running advertisement, you're putting ads in front of people who are strangers, the number one thing when it comes to getting people to respond is your speed to lead. Okay. So the slower you are at responding, the less likely you are able to qualify the prospect. All right. And so the ideal time that we should be aiming for is within the first 5 minutes of them opting in. All right. Now, when somebody opts in, this is the exact point where people are most motivated and they're most likely to actually engage with you. Okay. Because responding to a lead within 5 minutes 21 times more effective than responding after 31 minutes. Okay. So if you let a lead go past 5 minutes, it's 21 times less likely that they're going to respond to you. Because here's the truth, right? Prospects are not going to wait for you. People are not going to wait for you. They're going to move at their own pace, right? They're not going to move at your own pace. So if you're not the first to engage with them, you're going to be the last. So you got to get on this bandwagon real quick. So this means that you could spend all this time and money on advertisement, but if you don't actually get back to people in time, you're actually going to be burning a ton of money. Now, some of you are going to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's hold the horses a little bit. All right. I have a full-time job. I'm doing this part-time. How do I actually make this happen? Look, we understand, right? We completely understand. Now, sometimes you might not be in a position to actually respond to every lead right away. So either you need to have a system or a person in place to do that, right? Now, does it have to be a call? Ideally, yes. You want to make sure that you're able to call them within 5 minutes. They know what they opted in for. You can do a quick chat with them right then and there, right? But that's why we actually have a 10-day auto drip text sequence that we have set up for you. And within 3 minutes of them opting in, they're going to get a text message. So if you're unable to reach them for whatever reason, we're actually able to build something that can actually engage with the lead right away. Now, what the text message does is that it allows them to have some sort of contact that has already been established, right? But this is a warning. If you're not doing consults and you've got downtime, pick up the dang phone, right? You see leads coming in and you've got downtime, dial the phone, right? Because if you wait for a handout, there isn't any. This is your business, okay? This is your responsibility. No one's going to come save you except for you. This is the work that it's required and it's hard, but I know you can do it. Because if you're sitting here and you're thinking you're doing a great job because you're calling your leads the next day or the day after, right? You're not. right? The goal of this section is to help you create urgency and establish contact right away. So it's very, very, very important to do that because speed to lead is going to allow you to connect with the individual when they're the most motivated. All right. Moving along to best practice number 2 is working leads for 3 to 5 days. Okay. So piggybacking off of speed to lead, the first part of working your new leads is about how to execute speed to lead. So you understand what speed to lead is, but how do you actually execute speed to lead? And we know this, that if you don't call your lead within 5 minutes, there's a 100 times decrease in lead conversion. What does this mean? Lead conversion is them going from a lead to actually paying you money. Okay. Now, this is where we use technology to our advantage. Within 3 minutes, they're going to get a text message from TCK. All right. Now, as soon as the text goes out, you're going to go ahead and want to shoot them a call. And the reason for that is text message cuts through the noise because 89% of people prefer to communicate via text message and 97% of text message are actually read. So the likelihood of people actually picking up after they see your text message is very, very, very high because there's an average of 97% read rate within 15 minutes of delivery, and that's why we send it within the first 10 minutes. So we've designed the strategic setter processes this way because first, they see your number via text message, then they read the text message, and they get a call from you as well. So now they're like, hey, I'm going to pick up because it increases the chance of them knowing already who you are because they've already seen a text message from you. So that is going to be the first step in working the leads, which is speed to lead, right? So then what happens next? What happens next is that the person opts in, then you call, then that's it, right? No. That, my friend, is just where the fun has begun, right? Now, we found in cold traffic, which are audiences that don't know you, working a lead, meaning contacting or trying to contact a lead for 3 to 5 days is ideal. Right? Why is that? Because if they're not interested or don't reply back within 5 days, that means they're not interested at all or they're not interested at this time. This is why we have an entire follow-up section dedicated to following up with people that are uninterested for the next 4 to 6 months. Now, when we say working leads, we make contact with them and reaching out to them, like I said earlier. Now, the best way to do that is going to be via calling, texting, and emailing. Right now, we prefer calling and texting because email is a little bit slower and a lot of people don't check it, but they're able to respond to calling and texting faster. So what we have found that it takes 6 to 8 attempts to make a contact with an average prospect, right? Now, guess what most people do? Most people stop at 2 attempts. That's why they never get results. So if you contact a lead 1 to 2 times, you have a 48 to 70% chance of getting a response from them. Okay. Now, if you just increase that just by a little bit, right? Just by 3x, if you did a minimum of 6 reach outs, 6 contact points, you have a 93% chance of getting people to respond. 93% just by doing a little bit more. Okay. So the moral of the story is the more you reach out, the better. So we recommend doing 6 touch points within the first 3 days. So how would that actually break up and what would that actually look like? Okay. So let's say a lead opts in. On day number 1, we actually want to shoot them 3 calls. So let's say if somebody opts in at like 8 a.m., you want to shoot them a call right then and there. If you have the ability to do so, we would call again at noon or 1 p.m. and then we'd call again around 4 or 6 p.m. Right? That's day 1. Then moving on to day 2, they get 2 calls. Right? 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, depending on the time. It didn't matter, right? Then they actually get another call on day 3. So now by day 3, you have actually done 6 touch points just by phone call. This isn't even talking about the text messages that are going out. And this isn't even talking about the community process that's going out if you're running the community process or the emails that are going out as well. And so making contact with the lead is very, very, very crucial, and making sure that you're having at least 6 points of contact immediately. And that's going to lead and yield the best results. All right. Now, what are the best times to call a prospect? Okay. Now, what we have found is between 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Right? We call these the power hours. And the power hours is that most people are likely to pick up at this time. So does this mean that you can't call at any other time? No. This means that these are the best times, and this is the times that you're more likely to get somebody to pick up the phone. So if you can call in the middle of the day, it's still better than actually not calling at all. Now, what are the best days to call? We have found that Monday through Friday is the best day to call because the likelihood of somebody picking up over the weekend is very low because most people are just very busy or they don't want to take calls, right? Now, we also don't recommend calling people after 8 p.m. unless somebody has asked you to do so, right? And this way, we want to actually make sure we're protecting people's time and no one's blocking you as spam or anything of that sort. So it makes it easy on your end and it makes it easy on the other person's end as well. So if they have not requested a call, do not call them. Now, is calling the only form of follow-up? No, it's not. You can do email and texting. The reason we recommend calling is because when you call, the likelihood of you being able to do a quick chat on the spot is much higher versus text message. You have to exchange. You might go a day back and forth, and then you schedule a call. So that's why we recommend, hey, get on the call right away. You can go ahead and do a quick chat, and that's going to lead into that strategy session immediately. All right. So moving along here, let's go into number 3, the best practice, which is long-term follow-ups. Okay. Now in sales, we have a saying that 50% of sales come from follow-up. And I'm here to tell you that's actually false. In my personal opinion, after being sales for over a decade, my humble opinion is that 80% of sales actually do. Now, what most salespeople do is they try to tap into the 20% of people who have already taken action. And what they do is they leave money on the table because they aren't willing to build long-term relationships and actually follow up with folks, right? Yes, your goal should be to get people to invest into your services right away, but majority of people won't do that, right? Because if you want to be a world-class salesperson and you want to be someone who can increase your lead utilization, both long-term and short-term, right? You're going to have to go one step further. That is mandatory. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 2 types of follow-ups. There's short-term and there's long-term. Now, short-term follow-up is what we covered in this section, which was all about working your leads for up to 5 days, right? Now, the time span for that is really short compared to long-term follow-up, which is more along the lines of 4 to 6 months. Right? And this is where you're pouring in, you're notorious, you're in front of them, you're sharing massive amounts of value. Now, short-term follow-up is more focused on scheduling a call when the motivation is the highest. With long-term follow-up, you have to approach it from more of a 2-step process, which is I'm going to provide value first, right? It's always value driven. Then I'm going to go ahead and schedule a call and then I'm going to close the sale. So versus short term is happening within the first 3 to 5 days. Long term is happening over the 4 to 6 months. And this is checking in every single week, every single 2 weeks, every 30 days, whatever it may be. But this leads to a long-term relationship. So not only are you having people coming in from here, you're also having people coming in from here. So this builds a massive ecosystem so you never run out of clients. All right. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go further into the main training section around follow-ups and how to create a system around following up with your leads. Now, we're going to go further into this in the main training section around follow-ups and how to create a system around following up with your leads. Within follow-up, you can have segments or buckets of prospects that you have in there, right? You can have people that are great fits. You can have people that it's just not the right time right now, or they're motivated, but they just can't afford it. So they're going to save up for it, right? And this is where, as a setter, you're going to be able to create a targeted follow-up list where you can actually hit this on a regular basis, provide massive amounts of value over and over again, which will give you the ability to increase your sales over time. All right. So these are just the top 3 best practices that we recommend a lot of people just focus on because they're the fundamentals, but there are more. And if you take anything away from this training, and even in coaching calls, we'll remind you of this often, 90% of your success is going to be able to convert leads into clients come down to these 3 practices, right? Which is really honing your skills around speed to lead, working your leads for the next 3 to 5 days, making 6 contacts, and just following up. Because if you master just these 3 skills, it will become unreasonable for you not to book strategy sessions left and right and actually be successful. It's not difficult. It just requires grit. It requires consistency. It requires doing the boring work, paying your dues. It is the work that allows you to make the income and it allows you to grow yourself as a business owner. So if you go ahead and take the time to actually master these skills, you'll be set. We guarantee it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. That was the training on the best practices in sales. If you have any questions about this section or anything that we've discussed, make sure to go ahead and ask us inside of the student community, and we'll catch you guys in the next training section.